Welcome back to today's Photo Minute. My name is Brian Osborne at the Photo Classroom. And yesterday we introduced the whole idea of using the Auto ISO feature on our cameras. And we showed you how to set it up and kind of explain the parameters behind how you might do that, which is really, really critical to getting the most out of that feature. I hope you had a chance to check on your own camera, see if you had those same parameters that you could set up and customize, and maybe even had a chance to play with using Auto ISO even yesterday. I wanted to just cover a couple additional things today. One of those is that depending on the Canon and Nikon, yesterday we did go under the menu to set up Auto ISO, but there are other ways to turn on Auto ISO or to turn it off. Now the setup still has to go under the menu, and that's true of both Canon and Nikon. But on the Nikon, if you want to change to Auto ISO on many of their camera models, you can actually just hold the ISO button in and then spin the front wheel. The back wheel is the one that you would usually use to change the value of the ISO. But by spinning the front wheel, you can actually just spin it one click and you'll see ISO Auto start blinking. And then when you hold the button in and spin it one more click, you'll see ISO Auto not blinking, and now you're back into manual ISO. And so that's an easy way that once you're confident that you have the minimum shutter speed and the other parameters set up, it's an easy way for you to be able to turn on that feature or turn it off. And I'll talk about why you might want to turn off Auto ISO in just a moment. On the Canons, it's actually very similar too. If you go to the I menu or the Q menu on the back, and if you go to ISO, if you go all the way down to the lowest ISO value, you'll see an A, and A is turning Auto ISO on. So once again, you don't have to go into the menu to turn Auto ISO on and off. You can simply do that with a button and wheel combination on both camera systems. In terms of why you would turn Auto ISO off, it's a highly useful feature, and I use it often for many of the pictures that you've probably seen online as well. But there's probably two general situations that I would suggest that you turn off Auto ISO. One of those is obviously on a tripod, because when we're on a tripod, we usually are okay with the shutter speed going slower, and we certainly don't want to be raising the ISO just to have our camera on a tripod. So usually any type of tripod photography, landscapes or nighttime, etc., macro, that you'd probably go ahead and turn off Auto ISO and just be aware of whatever your shutter speed is. And being on a tripod, it may not make any difference anyhow. The second situation would be using the flash. Now you can take flash pictures with Auto ISO turned on, but sometimes it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for the camera and the flash to figure out how much power to fire and to work together. We probably covered in other subjects or in other classes, we've probably covered the whole idea that ISO does affect the flash and how bright the flash may fire or not fire. And so having the camera be able to raise and lower that ISO on its own, sometimes with a flash in operation, can give you some pretty varied results, and you might be surprised by how some of them are overexposed or maybe underexposed as well. So the two situations that I would turn Auto ISO off would be with a flash and or if I'm doing photography on a tripod. But that leaves open basically all types of available light, handheld photography, including sports and wildlife and walk-around photography, etc. I would probably be using Auto ISO. It's a great feature. I use it almost all the time. And while you can use it in different modes on the camera, I usually do aperture priority. That allows me to choose my aperture. I've already set up Auto ISO to choose the minimum shutter speed, and then the camera takes care of both the minimum shutter speed and the ISO that is needed to pull off what I've asked it to do. So it's kind of like shooting in semi-program and having all the control, but in essence, the camera is able to do most of what we need, given that we've already set up the parameters. I hope this has been helpful today. Tomorrow we'll be sharing our shoot and share assignments or our challenge items for tomorrow, and what we can be getting our camera out and experimenting with this weekend. Once again, I hope this has been informational for you. My name is Brian Osborne, and this is today's Photo Minute.